We are recording. Phone lines are opened. Go for it.
Thank you, Matt. I'd like to welcome everyone to the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals meeting of April 21st, 2026. We have 4 scheduled public hearings this evening, and the first one is Bonnet Rooster LLC, 97 and 99 Accabonac Road in East Hampton. Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-163-7-8.4 and 10. Relief sought is one variance of 4,126 square feet is required from 255-1110 dimensional regulations of the town code to permit parcel A to decrease its lot area from 45,665 square feet to 35,874 square feet, where 40,000 square feet is required and any other relief necessary. The description is to modify a lot line between 2 properties, making parcel A less conforming to lot requirements. The zoning district is A resident zone X flood zone. Secret class is type 2. Council, is the affidavit of service and posting in order?
Yes, I reviewed the affidavits and everything seems to be in order and the board has jurisdiction.
Thank you. This is my area, so I will continue with the field inspection. This is the notice that was posted on 97 Accabonac Road. Next, please. This is the one posted on 99 Accabonac Road, which has the house on it, and this would be considered parcel A. Next, please. Okay, this picture sort of tells the whole story. I'm standing on the other side of Accabonac Road facing the 2 properties. The one to the right is parcel A, which has the, obviously the house on it, and the one left to it is parcel B. And so if this is approved, you're literally looking at what they're going to be merging. Next, please. This is just, again, a shot of the house on parcel A. Next, please. This is the rear of the house. There'll be other pictures to indicate where the lot line will take place, but this is just to give you a picture of what is appearing on the property. Next, please. I'm actually standing on the, there's a fence behind me, and across from where I'm looking in front of this structure is exactly where the lot line modification will take place. Next, please. This is parcel, this would be parcel B, looking at it from the Accabonac Road side, and it's obviously cleared and there's nothing on it. Next, please. This is actually just another idea of this. I'm standing like behind the rear of the house and I'm looking at a structure, and right in front of that is where the lot line modification will take place. Next, please. The rest of the photos, oh, this is just, again, this is where the lot line will take place. Next, please. Now we're to the rear. We're actually probably behind everything, and everything that you're looking at right now is going to be removed. So in the next series of photos is going to be things and structures that are going to be removed. Next, please, Will. Again, this is, in the past, it was where they house horses. This, I believe, will be removed. Next, please. This is referred to on the survey or site plan as a sunroom, but it's actually a chicken coop. And as far as I understand, that's going to be removed. Next, please. This is a carport. That's the other structures surrounding it. Everything there will be removed, but I do believe they want the carports to stay. Next, please. Is that it, Will? All right, thank you. Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of this application?
Good evening. Tom Osborne from Osborne and McGowan, TC, 135 Main Street, East Hampton, New York, on behalf of the applicants who are right here in case there are any questions. So we didn't have any problem with anything that the planning department came up with. So I'll just go through the standards for the area variance very quickly. Number 1, will the grant of the variance cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood, or will it create a detriment to nearby properties? No, the neighborhood character is residential in use. That isn't going to change. The larger lot that needs the variance will be smaller, but the other lot that does not need a variance will be commensurately larger. And all in all, the two lots will fit in better, I think, in terms of size with the neighborhood, especially if you look at the tax map, you can see that. Number two, can the benefits sought be feasibly achieved by some method other than an area variance? No. To make the smaller parcel larger by acquiring more acreage can only be realistically done as proposed. Otherwise, purchasing neighboring property is not an option given the configuration of the neighboring lots. Number three, will the area variance sought be substantial? If not, why not? The larger lot will be reduced in area to 35,874 square feet, or 10.3% below the required 40,000 square feet. In my opinion, 10.3% in this case is not substantial. And again, the smaller lot is being made bigger, so it's becoming more conforming, and they balance each other out. Number four, will the grant of the variance have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or in the affected area of the town? No. Instead of having two houses very close to each other, as could happen right now if nothing's changed, from the picture you saw, the larger parcel has the house on it. The smaller parcel right next door well, could have a very small house on it. You'd have a small house, another small house, which doesn't seem to be a good thing. So I think doing the lot line modification would actually make that situation better. Number five, what reasons led you to believe this variant, to request this variance rather than to comply with the town code? The variance makes the smaller lots substantially larger in area by 77%, making it much more usable in terms of the required yard setbacks and other area requirements, while having a relatively minimal impact on the larger lot. It also eliminates the pre-existing setback nonconformities with respect to the existing residents. Overall, the applicants felt that the balance of the equities was in favor of the application and request that the variance be granted. Do you have any questions?
Is it true that you have to go back before the planning board for a public hearing?
Yes.
Okay,
They basically
They're waiting
said
for us to make-
They said conceptually it's fine, but you have to rule first.
right, okay,
Then we're back there. We also have to go to the health department,
okay,
which we're at the health department, but they're not doing anything until everybody else.
right,
Yeah,
I know.
that'll take forever.
Board have any questions?
Will there be access to the rear lot off of Acabonic Road?
There is access on a common driveway, which already exists.
The driveway exists?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
that's not going to change.
Thank you. I think we're ready to hear from the planning department.
Yeah, I am.
Will, I'll need to swear you in. Just state your name for the record.
My name is Will Edwards. I'm with the planning department.
Do you attest to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Continue, thank you.
All right. So like you said, this is an application proposing to modify a lot line between two properties, making one parcel less conforming to lot area requirements. No substantial environmental impacts are expected, as no additional coverage, clearing, paving, or increases in density are proposed as part of this project. This project was reviewed by the planning board most recently on October 22nd, 2025, after which it deemed the application complete pending review of the zoning board and issued comments indicating it has no objections to a lot area variance being granted for the proposed lot line modification. The present application, although proposing to cause new nonconformity in terms of lot area, will ultimately decrease the total amount of nonconformity between the two lots. The existing lot line does not permit the required setbacks for the residents currently located on parcel A, while the modified lot line would permit the residents to comply with those required setbacks. Both properties are currently zoned A residence and are neighbored by residential properties on all sides, which are also zoned A residence. Parcel A has deeded access to an existing common driveway serving it and adjacent lots, and the existing residence utilizes public water. Parcel A is currently improved with a 2-story single-family frame residence, decking, patio, 1-story detached garage, wooden decking, barn, lean-to, treehouse with deck, metal container, sunroom, shed, and gravel driveway. Parcel B is currently only improved with an asphalt driveway and stockade fencing. In a cover letter dated February 18th, 2025, The applicant stated the existing fence, lean-to, shed, deck, treehouse, buildings, and sunroom are to be removed from parcel A. The relocation of the lot line would result in the existing residence being located within parcel B, while the other structures would remain on parcel A. And I can take any questions.
Board have any questions?
We do not.
You do not?
Do you anticipate any other complications if this was reapproved?
No.
Thank you.
Is there any, thank you, Will. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address this application? Matt, do we have any callers?
I do not see any, so let's just do a double check of the phone line. Stand by, please. And this is Matt Chapman calling in from LTV, doing a test 1, 2, 3. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And you have 0 callers. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Tom, is there anything you would like to finalize? Okay, I have 2 things I want to say. I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing and record.
Second?
Concur.
Concur.
And I'd also like to, I think this application qualifies, I'm going to poll the board. I think this application qualifies to be deliberated on this evening. Member Kiley, would you be able to make a determination this evening?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
Member Berger?
No.
Member Mering?
It's not my preference, but if I'll go, obviously, if the majority of the board wants to do it, I'll do it.
Yeah, well, I would like to go forward. So the majority of the board would like to go forward and make a decision right now, and I'll start because it's my
Oh, we're doing it right now?
application. Parcel A will decrease its lot area from 45,665 square feet to 35,874 square feet, where 40,000 feet is required. This is the lot with the house on it now. If approved, parcel B will now be a 2-story residence, wood deck, and asphalt driveway. Parcel B provides ample space for the residents to now comply with every setback specified in the town code. The lot line between the properties will make one lot more conforming, which will be parcel B, and one less conforming to zoning requirements. You're in a sense decreasing the total amount of nonconformity between the 2 lots, and this approval will not cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood and will not have an adverse effect or impact on the environment or the neighborhood. For these reasons, I will be approving the application. Member Kiley?
I approve.
Member Berger?
I guess I abstain.
Member Mering?
When I first looked at the application, I thought, oh, well, why not have a 40,000 square foot lot, keep one conforming and the other? But obviously, it's the unusual shape of the 2 lots that seems to drive it, to be more regular. And I'm going, given that we have different standards, but I guess given that the planning board has no objection, and I know they look at these lot line modifications very closely, I will approve this variance request for the lot line modification.
So council, we have a 4 board member to approve, 1 abstaining.
Yep,
So you can go ahead and get the resolution ready.
will do.
Thank you very much. Good night. The next public hearing will be Michelle Smith and Stacy Griffith. Let me get my public hearing notice. Description is to remove an existing 1-story residence, decking, hot tub, shed, retaining walls, and associated structures, and construct a 1,495 square foot 2-story residence with spa, 415 square foot first floor decking, 269 square feet of first floor porch, 61 square feet second floor balcony, 339 square feet second floor roof deck, relocated shed, AC units, outdoor kitchen, driveway, and new sanitary system on a parcel of land within the jurisdiction of setbacks of freshwater wetlands. A natural resource special permit This is what's being sought. Pursuant to 255-420, and 5 variances are required for this application. Variances of 60 feet, 47, 42, 41, and 22 are required from 255-430 of the Town Code to construct a proposed porch and decking 40 feet. Two-story residence 53 feet, spa 58 feet, relocate shed 59 feet, and AC units 78 feet from freshwater wetlands where 100-foot setbacks are required. One variance of 52 feet is required from 255-430 of the Town Code to construct a proposed sanitary system 98 feet from wetlands where a 150-foot setback is required, and any other relief necessary. Zoning district is B Residence AE flood zone, elevation 10. Secret class is type 2. Council, is the affidavit of service and posting in order?
Yep, everything seems to be in order, and the board has jurisdiction over this hearing.
Thank you. Do we have a field inspection?
Yes, we do. Good evening, everybody. It's my pleasure to present the field inspection for 49 Mako Lane. Most people will know Mako Lane is the kind of one of the main egresses into the area we call Beach Hampton or the dunes of Amagansett. This property is just a couple houses south of Central Avenue. I'm facing the existing house. You can see the posting. This is a very small one-story house, very comparable and in keeping with a lot of the small cottages that still remain on Mako. There's a significant amount of vegetation on the front of the property with some very mature vegetation, as you can see. Next slide, and you can see the posting there. I'll get closer to it. Next slide. I'm standing in the same place, but I just shifted my gaze to the north. So this is the existing driveway, gravel driveway, mostly a lot of it's in the right of way. And then you can see the house next door to the north. I believe that house was the subject of a redevelopment application a number of years ago. And I think this board modified it not that long ago, but that's sort of an original house as well. That's the current neighbor. Next slide. I just got closer to the posting. The date and time were accurate, and I'm going to go down that little wooden pathway towards the house. You can see there is some bit of undulation and topography on the front of the house. We'll see more of that later. Next slide. Okay, I'm just getting a little closer to the house right there. It's the part to the left, I think, was modified at some point. I don't know if it's a full second story over there or if it's just a open, higher ceiling. Next slide. Just some of the vegetation on the front of the property that's quite mature. Next slide. Okay, I'm on the south side of the house. This is a very small lot. It's 7,500 square feet. Even the small house gets pretty close to the side yard lot line. There's as you can see, a pergola, open pergola. I'm going to head towards the back. Okay, so now I've come around the back of the house. Again, this is fairly diminutive, very low slung house for the most part. There has been some more clearing in part of the back of the property. It's in the TAM that, there were some things that were added without, I think, by the prior owners that were not on the C of O. You can see the hot tub in the distance and things like that. Obviously, everything's going to be removed. Next slide. Again, I'm looking basically to the, northeast corner of the property. There's that hot tub again. There's more vegetation in the back. My back is to a shed that's going to be demolished. I guess there'll be a shed more in the area that I'm proposed to be in the area that I'm looking at. Next slide. Yeah, there's a shed that's there. Next slide. More as you get it's a stockade fence at the very back of the property. I'm not sure if it's exactly, it's on the line. Again, more mature vegetation back there. The property starts to kind of slope up a bit. I think the TAM says there was likely more duneland vegetation back here than what you see now. Next slide. Okay, that's the hot tub, that's the rest of the rear of the house. I'm going to move around. It's going to be hard to get all the way around. I'm going to go back to the front, but you can see the property next door over that. I think there's a fence there. All right, so now I've actually come back to the front of the house because I couldn't wind my way all the way through. It's gonna be a little hard to see, but I thought this was a very interesting part of the property because this sort of the northern, the corner that comes off of Mako Lane on the north side of the house, you can see it on the topo lines on the survey. There is a fair amount of sort of dune land topography that surrounds this sort of corner of the house, and I wanted to show it because it is part of the character of the neighborhood. Obviously, looks like this is where the septic is going to go. Next slide, just a couple more here to sort of show that. So what I did is I actually climbed up onto the very top of this little dune spot. It is, not an insignificant dune land quality. I'm looking down. Again, I think this is going to be mostly excavated and flattened for the septic system. Next slide. I think it might be the last one. Yeah, again, I'm looking all the way up the north side of the house, and it's all, it sort of it rises up to the northern property line. Anything else? Was that it? One last shot, just so you could see the neighbor. I didn't get it before. You can see the neighbor to the south, like an older two-story house, and the vegetation. And I guess that's the area where an additional driveway is proposed. I think that's it.
Someone here to speak on behalf of the application?
Hi. John Tarbett for the applicant. My client's here, as well as Britton Bistrian, who also is helping with the application. Someone mentioned the neighboring application, which had been neighboring property, which had been before this board in 2018, and again, which mostly predated everybody on the board, with maybe the exception of the chair. But we came back last year for that property and did do a slight modification, add 100 square feet to it. Having had that experience with a property next door, same exact size, 7,500 square feet, the whole goal of this application was just to try to mirror that and propose something that was at least recently found to be in keeping with the character neighborhood and met the variance standards. All of these applications, as you know, when you have small lots with wetlands, you're going to have large variances. However, it's somewhat of a technicality without overstating that, because you're either hopefully improving or at least keeping the existing setbacks to, there's a house there already and you're not making things worse, you're hopefully making things better. We believe we are making things better. Some of the improvements that we have proposed include making the house FEMA compliant, getting a driveway as required by code actually onto the property and not in the town right away. The re-veg, everything on the property in those pictures was something that was planted long ago. We want to, the re-veg that we do propose would be compliant with the planning department or the town code as far as beach vegetation. We want to get that shed out of the corner, which is the closest thing to the wetland. And of course, the new septic system is probably the best benefit to the environment, because that would be proposed as far from the wetland as possible and be an AI system as opposed to the current system, which is directly behind the house, an old system. As you saw from pictures, the house is dated, it's aged, it's time for an improvement. So knowing that and knowing that we have a wetland, at least one wetland nearby, and just to remind the board, these wetlands, without diminishing the value of them, they are very, very small wetlands. We're talking about wetlands that are probably the size of, between us. That's one we're looking for a setback from. Not that it doesn't have value or habitat value, but it's not like it's a lake or a pond, or this is a really tiny little depression in the ground which has collected rainwater. And actually, in one point, probably 25 years ago, it was not even considered a wetland, but now it is, and it's got value. I'm not diminishing that, but we should point out the difference between this wetland and
Yes.
pristine, huge wetlands. So anyway, all of these things that we're proposing will improve in the property. I did take the time tonight just to do a quick little chart. And just for the sake of comparison, and we did this when we were preparing the application, but that's just for the sake of comparison, the two properties, to see how we We tried to align this property with what was found reasonable and compliant and granted variances recently. We tried to come in a little under that, make it a little better, and we hope we did. I saw the planning department is proposing that we, rather than do a 20-foot wide scenic easement just generically across the back of the property, which in hindsight, we could have thought out better. I think the planning department's right that.
So you saw the new sketch?
I did,
Okay.
I did, yeah.
And you're in agreement with that?
It makes, I mean, in hindsight, it makes more sense. I think we were just trying to mitigate or propose things that we thought would be helpful in making the application approvable. That's probably a better idea, to establish a buffer between any improvements in the property and that wetland. So we're more than happy to do that. I will point out, the board's aware, but this house at just under 1,500 square feet would be very in keeping with the rest of the house on Mako Lane. I could provide the board with examples if they would want them, but essentially the Mako Lane houses are between 1,500 and 2,200 square feet. Some lots are bigger, some are smaller, and this would fit right into that general characteristic of the neighborhood. The only other thing to discuss is the hot tub. Again, it's a 6x6 hot tub because we went with what was approved next door. At least in that case, the board found that it was, and the setbacks are the same to the same quality type, although the wetlands are they're different wetlands, believe it or not, that we're seeking from next door, but it's the same idea, same small little pocket wetland. There is a benefit to having some sort of water feature on our property. Obviously, a pool would not fit on this property or be something that should be approved. It's too small a property with too many setbacks, but a hot tub at 6x6, a tiny little hot tub. The TAM suggested that we proposed to the board ways to mitigate any damage to that.
That was my question.
I do think I looked it up, and a 6x6 hot tub is about 300 gallons of water. I think it would be completely reasonable to do a dry well that would hold 300 gallons of water, so that if and when that hot tub were ever dumped, it didn't all get dumped at once and run off into the wetland. That would be
help with the drainage.
Yeah. So it's sand there, so hopefully there wouldn't be a drainage issue, but I think a dry well would be very appropriate. There's other things we could propose, although I realize that they're not really enforceable, but you could do a covenant, because we're going to do a covenant anyway in this property. We could add to the covenant. It's probably something to think about, which is that if you could say something like, if the hot tub were ever drained, no chemicals will be added for 2 weeks prior to it being drained or something. I understand it's not enforceable, but a lot of things aren't necessarily easily enforceable, but at least it's a covenant that if the property were sold, the new owner would be aware of it, and you hope that people are good citizens, so you just don't add any.
And you're protecting your own property.
Yeah. Anyway, the dry wells should do the job, and with the dry wells in place, I can't think of any detriment to the wetland from the hot tub.
Thank you, John. Does the board have any questions for John?
I actually don't.
I don't either.
John, can I just follow up on sort of what I was showing in the slide? So this board has been sensitive in this neighborhood to, when we have it, to, kind of keep that undulating dune land look. I understand you've engineered the septic in here, but just, was there any opportunity to have positioned the septic on the other side of the property, or any, I mean, I'm not going to too much, but it's pretty striking, that bit of topography that's there, and we do generally try and protect that.
Yeah, no, I understand. So one thing that we do, and you'll probably appreciate this because I know you've looked at a lot of properties over the last few years, is that when someone comes to you with a rebuild or redevelopment, you say, okay, get the engineer, start with that, because the septic is the first thing that you locate. And then the house gets located after the septic system, because we all know that everybody's going to say, can you make this, get your septic system as far from the wetland as possible. That's how you start all planning. So that's what we did. The other advantage of that corner, which I understand there's a change in elevation, but we're talking about a really small area. And the advantage of that corner is that also provides the most separation to groundwater, not only for the wetland on the property, but for the entire neighborhood. So there really wasn't anywhere else to put the septic system when you consider the fact that you want to maximize your distance to wetlands and maximize your distance laterally and vertically and horizontally. So that's why we put it there.
Is it going to be a retaining wall around it, or no, it's just going to?
We were able to do it without retaining walls.
Without, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
okay.
without.
And then on the, where you have the existing driveway, it now says existing driveway to be reduced. Can that driveway be eliminated and again, just, revegetate that part, and then you have your new driveway on the other side? Because if you,
No, I agree.
I don't know what part is being reduced, but, the whole front of the property starts to look like
So,
just gravel.
somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're correct that, that we should not, that's on the town's right away anyway. It should say removed.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's a good point.
All right, thank you.
And again, the whole point of this application was to try to, well, not the whole point, but we understood that you had to fit 2 cars on your property. So it's just one of the many ways this property would become more conforming, even though technically there are large variances being granted. The idea here is to have this property be more environmentally sensitive than what's there now and be more fitting with the character. When someone drives down the road, they say, oh, that's a nice property, as opposed to that's an older home that needs to be fixed up.
Hey, John, okay, so the existing driveway to be reduced is actually, that portion is actually being removed.
That should be removed, yeah.
Okay.
It's on the town's right away.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not sure why it says that.
I'm good, thank you.
Is everyone okay? I think it's time to hear from the planning department. Do you affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Jake Kushner with the Planning Department. I do.
Thank you, Jake.
So again, this is a redevelopment in Beach Hampton. Beach Hampton that subdivision was created before the adoption of modern zoning, so many of the lots are non-conforming relative to today's standards. The parcel's within the jurisdiction of 3 freshwater wetlands. The subject wetland in this case is in the southeastern corner of the lot, 53 feet from the proposed residence. There's a second wetland located across Mako Lane, 139 feet from the proposed residence, and a third wetland is located to the north across Central Avenue, 103 feet from the proposed residence. So some of the defining environmental characteristics of the neighborhood include that duneland soils topography, beach vegetation, and then the Atlantic Ocean to the south. There are also small wetlands scattered throughout the subdivision. These are small, kind of fragmented wetlands. They do provide habitat for flora and fauna and help protect against the effects of coastal flooding. So although the requested variances are large numerically, they don't appear unreasonable given the existing conditions and constraints. The parcel right now lacks, that dune land. It's just established lawn. The proximity of those wetlands puts the entire parcel into freshwater wetland jurisdiction, and it's very constrained by the location of those 3 wetlands. So aside from wetland setbacks, the proposed residence and accessory structures do meet all other zoning requirements outlined in section 255.1110 of town code. The proposed building coverage, 1,465 is within the maximum 1,500 allowed. The 442 square foot increase is mainly attributed to a slight increase in building footprint and some decking. Proposed total coverage, 2,530. Is within the 3,750 allowed by town code. The 547 square foot increase is likely attributed to the new proposed parking area and decking changes. The inclusion of a partial second story does increase the GFA, but it appears to be a reasonable redevelopment that is in keeping with existing improvements. As for the sanitary system, the current sanitary system is behind the house, roughly 40 feet from the wetlands. The proposed sanitary system is proposed in what appears to be the most conforming location. It maximizes the setbacks to those wetlands. Again, as we mentioned before, the 20-foot wide scenic easement was probably not the most appropriate mitigation measure. So that buffer consisting of native beach veg probably has greater or equal conservation benefit. Along with the buffer though, the lawn should be removed and naturalized to establish that duneland character of the neighborhood. And you could, as depicted on the provided survey, as proposed vegetation. The applicant should prepare and submit a declaration of covenants and restrictions prohibiting the removal of that buffer and the establishment of turf, lawn, sod, or ornamental veg. They're relocating the shed, which is currently at like 15 feet to 59. So pretty notable improvement in that setback. As for the spa, the existing spa was never a permitted structure. So, it's not just straightforward kind of replacement. It requires a 42-foot variance to be located 58 feet from the wetland. It should be noted, those wetlands are small, fragmented. A proposed setback of this size might not, warrant consideration for some of those larger wetlands. The applicant should show appropriate drainage and dry well, even though it's a small accessory structure. Chlorinated water can have impacts to the wetlands, so they should demonstrate how they're going to mitigate those impacts. I'd be happy to answer any additional questions you might have.
Well, Member Mearing brought up a point about the topography around the septic system. So if this was to move forward and the septic system went in the spot which you've already announced is the best possible location, we then follow that up with some sort of planting plan and or, recontouring that would run through your department. Is that too?
Yeah, the re-veg, would be approved by us. And again, we want to establish that duneland character.
I don't know if that satisfies what you're saying, but I just wanted to follow up on your point.
Thank
What
you.
was going on there?
And where there was a proposed 20-foot wide scenic easement, so we're not doing the scenic easement, but that will all be revegetated? as part of the
Yes, I
plan,
believe that
right?
was all
Everything.
proposed to be
Okay.
revegetated as well. Mhm.
So even though we've added that certain section, what's already proposed is going to.
Yeah, all that green
Yeah,
re-veg
that
we
has to
want
be
as well.
clear, yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, because they were two different colors, that's why I
There was
was
a new
just
one.
getting to,
There
yeah.
was a newer survey too. Could you
one.
show the new one?
I can pull up that
Okay.
sketch for
Today's.
you, yes.
Hold on.
But they're still going to include that 20-foot
Yeah, okay. I can see that.
as you see it.
Oh, we're
Just
keeping the
'cause it's
scenic
different.
easement, Chairman? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Oh, but-
And we're
Okay,
including
okay.
this.
and then that's a more
Our
heavily,
recommendation was, that buffer area and that 20-foot scenic easement, that is probably not the most appropriate mitigation measure. And we were recommending that buffer is likely more appropriate. It acts as a better buffer to the
So you're
wetland.
taking away the 20-foot scenic easement that they're proposing?
It might not be necessary given the size of the lot and location of the wetlands.
Okay, so it won't be on there right now. It's still showing partially on there,
Well, we just made the change today.
I mean, why not keep it?
whatever.
No,
It was already
that's-
proposed by the applicant, right? So, I mean, and then you have this buffer, which I think you enhance probably maybe it's like more woody vegetation or whatever to really buffer that wetland, but
Yeah, so we wanted to focus
Chair,
that buffer
we
over
wanting
the
to keep it?
wetland to, act as a buffer to that wetland instead of just kind of on the back of the property where it's not really protected.
no, I understand the buffer. I'm down with the buffer. Don't get me wrong. But
Just for the record, and this is a public hearing, I'd like to see how the applicant feels about that. And then when we get to deliberation, we'll make a decision then. Thank you, Jake.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address this application? Matt, do we have any callers?
You have 0 callers. Thank you.
John, would you like to, Britton, John?
Good evening. I think I need to be sworn in.
Britton, do you affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
I just wanted to note two things that I wanted to make sure that we had in the record. Was that one is the house is completely uninhabitable. It's, as you can tell, it's in a low place now, it had suffered from a flood, so it's completely, you can't even go inside. It's covered in mold. So the house, for it to be habitable again, needs to be removed. And I think that's important to note. This isn't an elective project. The second thing I thought would be helpful to note is that, to Member Mearing's concerns about the septic system, is that, like John said, we started with what's the furthest point, from the bottom corner of the survey, what's the furthest we can get the septic leaching away? And that's literally the furthest point. And the reason that we designed it to be leaching trenches as opposed to galleys or deeper pools was that we were eliminating that excavation. So, if you look at the septic section, I don't know if Jake can pull it up, but the septic section basically shows the existing contours to remain and that the leaching for the septic, gets trenched in a matter of, less than a foot. So it was, although it has some topography there, we tried to be as sensitive as possible in our septic design to get it the farthest from the wetlands and provide the least amount of disturbance in that area.
Okay,
So
and then when
we
you
are
reveget-
maintaining most of the topography over there.
And so when you revegetate, like with beach grass and stuff on
Correct.
top of
That's why
it,
it's
it
all
will still have
stippled
that
green.
sort of feel. Okay, thank you for
And
that.
that's the other thing, the nice thing about the leaching trenches is that there are some revegetation material that you can put over them and get that benefit.
So at the end of the day, we really don't care whether it's a scenic easement or a covenants and restrictions. I have had some discussions with the planning department, or at least Charlie, about the best way to do this. And again, when you deliberate on this application, we're not going to be upset one way or the other. But there is some discussion about how covenants and restrictions might be a more appropriate way to do it than a scenic easement. I guess Charlie could probably talk to you during deliberations about which one he prefers more. We don't really care. We'd be happy with either one. But the nice thing, briefly, the nice thing about covenants and restrictions as opposed to a scenic easement is scenic easements are forever, and this board doesn't have the power to change them in the future. So if 20 years from now, someone were to come to you with a different plan and the conditions in the neighborhood had changed, if it was covenants and restrictions as opposed to a scenic easement, those covenants and restrictions could be changed by the future board, allowing for redevelopment, which met the needs of the time, which we don't have any idea now what those needs would be. Whereas a scenic easement will probably never be undone no matter what, because it would have to go to public referendum. That's the short of it. So when I heard that was what the planning department was thinking, made sense to me as well. But whatever the board thinks.
Okay, so if it's not going to be a scenic easement at all, the remaining portion that's not the buffer, will that be revegetated?
Correct. I think the planning department is suggesting.
Instead of scenic easement, that's all
reveg.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think the idea here is, if you walk the property, there's very little, even the mature landscape of the property was probably planted. Across that back fence line, it's all tall trees in a straight line. I think it might be like Hollywood juniper in the front. Like I think everything was planted. The idea here is to bring it back to something that would be more what you would see. So everything, and I think the planning department's mitigation is fair.
Thank you.
And we have the whatever re-veg is going to be a condition of approval, right? The planning department is not asking for a plan at this point,
No, that can be a
right?
condition of approval.
I was just asking.
No,
planning,
I'm
sorry.
saying that's going to be a condition
Okay,
of
just wanted
approval.
to, okay.
Are there any other questions?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tarver.
Thank you.
Did you make a motion, Jane, to
I
close the public hearing?
Will indeed, thank you.
Public? Yes.
Yep.
Do we ask if there's
Ask
any,
everybody, yeah.
there's no one from the public?
Yeah,
There's no one on the call?
We did.
there's no one on the call.
Okay.
We already did all that.
Okay, we're ready. Please, in the matter of Michelle Smith and Stacy Griffith, 490 Mako Lane, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-175-6-21, I make a motion to close the public hearing and close the record.
Second.
Concur.
Concur.
Thank you.
Our next public hearing is 42 OMH LLC, 42 Old Montauk Highway, Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-21-2-23. Description is to renovate and reconstruct portions of the existing residence and cellar and construct 513 square feet of first and second story additions, a new driveway, and reconstruct the existing first and second story decking on a parcel of land within the town's jurisdiction of Coastal Bluffs and freshwater wetlands. Relief sought is a natural resource special permit pursuant to 255-420, and variances from 255-430, minimum wetland setbacks at 255-440, coastal setbacks of the town code, and any other relief necessary. A 20.7-foot variance is required to construct additions 79.3 feet from wetlands, where a 100-foot setback is required, and variances of 85.5 feet and 16 feet are required to construct the additions and the pool fence 64.5 feet and 134 feet from the bluff crest, where a 150-foot setback is required. Zoning district is A10 Residence NA. Secret class is type 2. Council, is the application and
Yes, affidavits look good and the board has jurisdiction.
thank
over
you
this.
very much. Member Berger?
Yeah, I have to apologize right up front. This posting was from December when the last minute, the meeting got canceled. Member Johan, you were out there today, right?
Yes.
It was posted?
Yes, it's
Yeah,
posted.
okay, so it was properly posted. Next, there's a very long driveway that we'll be going through to get to this actual property. Next. It's just a shot looking kind of in the westerly direction of Old Montauk Highway. This is the old Montauk Highway. Next. This is another posting that was on the other side, farther up, but again, mine would be out of date. Next. So this is the area where you come to the gate. Where's the gate?
You've already gone through the gate at this point.
Yeah, I've gone through the gate, yes, that's true. And now this is in the parking area. Bear with me, because I haven't seen this in 6 months, and I know it basically has not changed as far as what's in the project itself. So this is in the, exactly what direction I'm looking, toward the parking area, I believe. Next. Now I'm standing at the north side of the house, and you see the parking area there. This is north looking south, and you see the garage there, which will be readdressed and made part of the actually, well, it'll still be a garage, but it'll be reoriented because there is a pool in the proposal to the east side, to the left side of this, that will be in scope for the project. And the driveway that came in there is also being reoriented to go farther up the dirt road and then come into the property to access the driveway, the new driveway directly. Next. This is a shot looking down in the direction of the westerly portion, in the direction of the pond that is on the other property. And you see this is all grassy area. And this is part of the revegetation proposal that's in scope for the project. Next. This is the same side of the house where there's going to be slight modifications. The house does need some work. There are things in disrepair. These are going to be changes to some of the decking and the overhang and the roof, and various things that'll be going on around the whole house, but basically within the footprint of the house as it exists today. You can see more lawn that is there today. And that first floor decking is to be repaired, and if you were out there, you could see where it needs that. Next. This is another shot down. There's a lot of grassy, these gravelly areas that are, going around the property down to the water, both in the direction of the ocean and the pond. Next. And it's just another view of that in the direction of the ocean, as you can see. And next. This is the southeast side of the house, looking in the easterly direction. And again, it's where there are going to be first and story decks in the proposal, and also that area for the first story, more deck repair that's proposed. Next. Not really sure which direction this is in right now. I believe it's to the east. Yeah, looking out to the east in general from the property. Next. And another shot of some of the walkways and the ocean in the distance. Next. And some more of these walkways that meander around the property. Next. And this is on the east side of the property where they're proposing to change some add some staircase, and that's the best I could get at it for the shot. There was some question, I guess, as to the planner has regarding some of if there's a pyramid, I think, if it's possibly in scope or not, but that's that general side down the east side, looking at the staircase where they're proposing to do a first and second story deck with redone stairs. Next. And this is the area out in the distance, actually on the other property that had been cleared. It's a different different owner, but, well, same owner, but different owner. And part of this project has been that the current owners are going to revegetate this area, which had been cleared by a prior owner. And when the current owner purchased the properties, that clearing had already been there, but they are proposing to revegetate that also. And ultimately, the revegetation that will be done on the original house on the applicant's property itself for 42. We'll bring it into clearing compliance also. Right now, it's grossly overcleared. And I think that's it. Yeah.
Thank you, Member Berger. Is there someone here to speak on behalf of the application?
Yes, Anthony Pasca, Essex Hector Angel Italian Pasca for the applicant, and Britton Bistrine is also here on this application. If it's okay, I want to talk a little background about what Ms. Berger finished with, which was what happened before we owned the property, because that kind of leads us to where we got to and then where we're going. We closed on this property in December of 23. The prior owner had only owned the property for a year, and it was an investment company that they picked it up as a distressed property a year earlier. They refused to do any work. So the issues that you see in terms of clearing and some other things that we've already taken care of were done at least 2 owners before us. We knew all about it going into it because the investment company that we bought it from said, we're not touching it. We are not going to remediate. We're not giving you an updated CO. So our client said, fine, we'll tackle this project. And the large lot, which is 38 Old Montauk Highway, it's about 35 acres. This is a half an acre, which is 42, which is the subject property. But the 38 Old Montauk Highway had a whole host of problems. It has a true scenic easement, conservation easement on it, and doesn't allow structures. It had fencing all around it. It had 2 buildings that were put up illegally. It had pathways all over the place. And probably the most egregious was a dock that they just stuck in the pond without any permits. And my understanding, I never got to see it, but was that they covered a lot of these things in camo, thinking that Google aerial imagery wouldn't pick it up, but it does. It picks it up. But for whatever reason, they thought camo would protect them. So when we bought the property and closed in December of 23, immediately the client knew that they were going to have to start tackling these issues. And the first thing they wanted to deal with was the structures. Sometime in the spring of that year, when the deed ended up getting recorded, I got a call from John Jelnicki, and he and Scott Wilson were concerned that the property had changed hands and that we might not know that there were problems. And I assured them that we were already working on it. They were happy to hear that we took this on knowing that it was a project. Mainly the big lot was the bigger work that had to be done. And so over the next year or so, the client tackled the removal of all the structures, the fence and the dock and the buildings. And the plan for most of that lot was to just let it revegetate naturally. The one area that they sort of kept behind was the area adjacent to the house, because the plan was to renovate the house. And so we figured, tackle the structures, get them off the property, let the revegetation start there, and then we'll tackle the area next to the house when we put in an application for the house. And the application would naturally require an NRSP, and we knew that we'd be standing right here dealing with trying to finish up the project. The client's goals as far as the house is concerned is mainly renovation and architectural changes. There's a net zero size change in terms of GFA. The very first plan that was noticed, we noticed incorrectly there was some design issues that it wasn't quite net zero, so we pulled that application before it went to a hearing, had the architects change it so that we could stand before you and say, it's a net neutral, no square footage increase above the 1994 CO, which specified the square footage. We have the exact same square footage. But the client is trying to create a new design, mainly in terms of, if you notice, has a weird octagonal shape where the corners are kind of chamfered. I don't know if that's an architectural term, but they want to square out the corners so that they're normal corners. And then the roof line, you saw, was kind of a pagoda-like thing with long overhangs that extend way over. They're going to bring the overhangs in and make it a more normal architectural roof line. And so one of the questions that was raised, I'll jump ahead a little bit, is there was a question in the TAM about, do we need a pyramid relief? And when we looked at it, we determined we didn't, because the pyramid is being reduced. Everything about the roof line change is bringing it in and down. And so under the code, as long as you're not increasing the degree of nonconformity, you can make alterations without requiring a variance. So we don't think we need a pyramid variance because the pyramid's actually going down, not up. Besides the house changes, the client is proposing a pool, small, about a 26 by 26 square, and doesn't require variances. It's being just outside of the setback line, so we're able to find a place for it on the property that didn't require variances. The pool fencing is a tiny section where the pool fencing has to connect to the house, and that section of the pool fencing does technically require a wetland variance from the setback variance. So that is noticed as one of the variances that's needed. Of course, it's got all the normal bells and whistles that you would expect us to have on a project like this. New IA system as far away from the wetlands as possible. A substantial amount of revegetation being proposed. About 25% of the main parcel is being revegetated. Coverage is going down even though the pool is being added. So even with the pool, the total coverage is going down by about 1,000 square feet. Leaders and dry wells and all the things that you would expect us to have. So that kind of covers the project as far as the main lot's concerned. But I do want to acknowledge we went into this knowing that even though 38 Old Montauk Highway wasn't technically part of the project, we had to deal with it. And that was something that, talking to John and Scott, and then later Brian, that was something that we knew we were going to have to deal with. So there is a separate revegetation plan that was prepared by Grimes and put in this record to show the board what was planned. I know the TAM has some comments on it, and we're happy to make the changes that are being requested. That's not going to be an issue. Doesn't require your approval because it's outside of this and not part of the subject property, but we have no problem with that revegetation plan as approved by the planning department, or to be approved by the planning department once we make the tweaks to it, being a condition of the 42 Old Montauk Highway natural resources permit. We have no problem with that. The one thing that slight adjustment to the recommendation in the TAM that we would like to ask, though, is the timing of that. For the main property, the 42 Old Montauk Highway lot, the recommended condition is that the revegetation is done prior to CO, which is the normal way of doing it. And of course, we accept that. But for the adjacent parcel, the TAM suggested that not only do we get the building permit, not only get the plan approved pre-building permit, but have all the work done pre-building permit. And what we want to do all the work at the same time, because it's not just more economical, but from a construction project site, it doesn't make sense to do sort of create an arbitrary line between the two. It's really one integrated plan. So what we are asking is that the condition be written in a way that it says our plan must be approved prior to building permit. The work must be completed prior to CO. So that's the one adjustment that we're asking for. And part of the reason I went through the work that the client's done already before we even got to you is not to say we don't need to be patted on the back for it. They did the right thing, but they had to do the right thing. But it shows that they have some credibility in terms of they will do what we say we're going to do. And so the only reason to say do the work before the building permit is if you don't trust that the work's actually going to be done. It will be done, and it will certainly be done before the CO. So that's the nature of the project. As far as the relief requested, it's really related to those, cornering out those corners of the Chamford part of the property. For those, whether it's 3x3 corners or 6x6 corners, depending on which part of the house it is, any little addition requires a variance if it's not already there. So we're not getting closer. I think in one spot it might be 3 inches closer because of the angle of the setback, but we're basically just squaring out the line. So it's not going to have any impact, any negative impacts, certainly in the context of the overall project that has plenty of environmental improvements and all the mitigation that you would expect. We think it's an overall terrific project. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to talk about it.
Well, I have a couple. One thing I'm wondering is you have gone through the architectural planning and the engineering on this renovation at this point. You're comfortable with where you're going?
Yeah.
And then in other words, professionals on board have taken a good look at the house and we know what percentage of work is going to get done. Because when you're there, you're obviously struck with the fact that it's in disrepair. So we want to make sure that the project that's being presented to us is the one that's actually going to take place.
Yeah.
We're not going to get anything later on coming in here that we're going to be seeing some previous approval being asked to be amended right away when you realize that the structure is not nearly as sound as you might have thought it was.
Well,
If a professional's involved and you're comfortable with that,
yes,
is what I'm asking.
the answer is yes. And just to reiterate, we had a slightly different version of this already noticed and ready for hearing. We pulled it voluntarily because we wanted to make a few changes before wasting your time and going through this process. We didn't want to have to come back a second time when we realized we wanted to make a couple of little tweaks to it. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and then in terms of the lot that's to the west, 38, so as you say, you're proposing to do the right thing here and to see to it the damage that had been done by previous owners is going to be mitigated with some future planning. And I guess what I'm going to say is that you've made your presentation on, let's not have it be a requirement of the building permit, make sure it's requirement of the C of O. And we're going to ask, I think we're going to want to know from the planning department what their argument would be for one or another.
Sure.
Because I do think this is, as you know, it's an extraordinary lot. It's an extraordinary location. And the fact that it had been so cleared and there'd been some other things going on, once we're involved, everybody here is going to be very concerned that we're taking the best possible path to get back to where we all think it should be.
Right.
So whatever that mechanism is, we better make sure we're comfortable with it.
That's why I brought up that they have to date, the client has to date. They didn't wait to get a violation notice. They proactively dealt with these things. And you can ask the planning department, you can ask the town attorney's office. We never stood back and said, oh, but we didn't cause this problem. Why are you for? The client went into it with open eyes and knew that this was something they had to do and actually did it before, or most of it, with the exception of the revegetation near the house, did the work before we even got here because we didn't want to come in and have you guys look at us saying, well, what have you been doing for the last 2 years? It was a problem and they wanted to take care of it, or at least as much of it as they could before getting to the area around the house.
Does the board have any other questions?
I do. I have one quick one. So I just want to make sure the notice is still correct, because I know you said you tweaked a little bit. So the construct 513 square feet of first and second story additions, which you said is going to be net zero, what you're taking out. So that 513 is still the right number to start? And then, forgive me, I've been staring at the survey and I see where it says proposed, like second story addition, but where is, what's coming out? What's the where is that?
East side.
It's on the east side,
On
okay.
the east side, there's a 120 square foot section. It shows on,
Tony,
Why am I missing it on the survey?
do have the
Forgive me.
plans?
Maybe pop
So
it
if
up on the screen.
no, it's,
You want me to make the switch?
this is the part,
Yeah.
see this in gray over here?
Yeah.
That's the part, the 120 square feet that's coming out to make up for the corners that are going
Oh,
in,
that gray, okay.
okay?
But you're adding 513.
No, I don't, it doesn't actually come out to adding 530. I don't know why the notice.
I just want to make sure it's noticed properly too.
The corners add up to 92 square feet, so it doesn't make, that doesn't sound right.
Is the variance correct that's being requested? Because it's a
The
20.7
distances are
to
correct.
construct the additions, okay.
All the
What do we
setback,
hear from the planning department on those?
I verified all the setback numbers.
Okay.
They're all correct,
Okay.
at least as far as I could tell. Brian, you may have a,
Yeah, I think
Different.
we'll listen to what Brian has to say.
Excellent. Thank you.
Brian Frank? So funny.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members. Brian Frank on behalf of the Planning Department.
Do you affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. I'm glad Tony shared some of that backstory about the lot next door. I had heard a lot of anecdotal information about what went on over the past 10 to 15 years, let's say, from prior property owners. I didn't bring it into the TAM, into the file. It wasn't really relevant beyond where the
Correct.
zoning board's jurisdiction, which are the wetlands, and the bluff, which places 42 Old Montauk into ZBA jurisdiction. But I did hear similar stories about activities that went on the lot next door involving the camo nets that Mr. Pasca mentioned, as well as trails and bridges and clearing and really taking some liberties with that lot, including down by the pond, which I'll speak about secondarily. I'd like to talk about the application at 42 first. So the existing house is about 4,000 square feet, a little bit under. There's no proposed increase in gross floor area. There's reconfiguring and there are removals of square footage, and the language in the TAM speaks about where the new construction is located. So in terms of the addition, that's where there's new construction. But if the phraseology makes it sound like there's an increase of 500 square feet and change on the first floor, that's unclear wording on my part. The plans show that there is no increase in GFA. It's basically a renovation and a reconfiguration of the structure that's there now. And if I'm expressing that incorrectly now, I welcome Ms. Bistrian or Mr. Pasca to correct me. There is a reduction in the total coverage and coverage on the property. Lot coverage is reducing by about 552 square feet. Total coverage is reducing by about 1,000 square feet, a little bit more. The sanitary system is proposed in the most conforming location on the property relative to wetland setbacks in that northeast corner. It's a little unusual that, well, anyway, that doesn't. We usually have north pointing up here. Maybe I should have rotated the survey on the screen, I'm realizing. And I apologize if that makes it hard to keep your bearings here, then again, I apologize. I could have done that. I did. Usually north is up when we're looking at the screen here. Here it's to the.
I'm directionally challenged. This isn't fair.
I should have made it easier. That's on me.
Point me towards the question.
And you see the area that's outside that dashed green line, that's about a 4,800 square foot of revegetation. And that brings the clearing of this property into compliance with the clearing restrictions for a property of this size. And that revegetation plan is fine, and the planning department has no objection to that being implemented prior to a certificate of occupancy. The swimming pool is for the most in a conforming location relative to wetland setbacks and requires a bluff crest setback variance because this is an area of town that requires a 150-foot setback from the bluff. The bluff here is a little bit unusual compared to the bluffs on either side of it, where you usually have those, most of this area of Montauk has very nearly vertical escarpments throughout the headlands of Montauk Point, but there are a few areas where you have a bit of a hollow. There's a little bit of a hollow in the bluff crest. This is one of them. It is a little bit similar to the hollow, although this is much smaller than what you see at the, I still call them the Warhol cottages. I don't care who owns them. They'll always be the Warhol cottages. But you'll see the same kind of phenomenon there in terms of a little bit of a hollow in the bluff. So the bluff crest itself is up near the southern property line, and that necessitates the variance, but the construction is on the north side of the house. I do want to switch over to the aerial for a moment, if I can, because it kind of shows the clearing on the lot next door. And you know, I do want to point out the lot lines aren't lining up correctly in this area of Montauk. They don't rectify well, so that blue rectangle that represents the lot, this property, would more accurately be shifted to the right to center over the improvements. But you could see the extent of clearing on, I have it in the TAM as 34 Old Montauk Highway. Maybe I confused that with the lot area, and maybe it's 38 as Tony has been referencing it tonight. But that clearing that goes right up to the pond's edge grew incrementally over a period of time, starting around 2010 or so. It didn't happen overnight. Became a little bit more conspicuous over time and more aggressive. And the reason that the planning department recommended the revegetation occur before the building permit is because it's a pretty egregious violation. I recognize it wasn't done by this owner. The owner is inheriting this problem. But I'm a little bit concerned about waiting until the issuance of a CO to get it remediated because of the egregious nature of the violation. And ultimately, nobody really has a lot of control over when these projects actually get constructed and closed out. And that includes Mr. Pasca and Ms. Bistry. And the applicant could have every intention of breaking ground on this as soon as the permits line up. But this board sees extensions of time for projects that are 5 years old, 10 years old, sometimes a lot longer than that. So if recognizing the desire to do this all at once, there is a lot of value to fixing this violation as quickly as possible. It's not a permitted condition. It shouldn't be treated cavalierly, and I'm not suggesting that the applicants are. It's steeply sloped down to that pond. It's all lawn and, you know, with a couple of clumps of invasive species. There's some Japanese barberry out there. There's some Chinese silvergrass, the miscanthus. These are problematic conditions. And the dock that you could see on the aerial has been removed. I don't know if the turtle haul outs are still there. I only hope they were for native species, and you know, exotic wildlife in a wetland like this is often catastrophic, but there's no way to know what's in there. So if it's not going to be corrected prior to a building permit, I'd like to see some other definitive timeline to fix this. The re-veg plan for 42 is fine. It's a combination of shrubs and grasses. And for the that property, which is flat, there's not really much of a buffer that you're looking for to the bluff, because the bluff is shallowly sloped and is for the most part naturally vegetated. But the moorland is characterized by stunted trees and dense shrubs. Believe me, I do a lot of field work in there. It's dense. It's impenetrable. It was probably pasture 150 years ago, but that's not the natural character of the areas around this pond now. The west side of the pond, similar ponds and wetlands in the area here are densely vegetated, and that should be better reflected in the re-veg plan for this area. And it should be implemented quickly. I know this condition has existed in one state or another for more than a decade. But when you have a significant resource, and this wetland is a significant resource, and you have something that is damaging to that resource, that damage should be mitigated as soon as practical. And so if it's not going to be prior to a building permit, then I'll invite the applicants to suggest, I don't know, a calendar year, something. I'd like to see it done as quickly as possible.
But you do foresee a possible alternative to what you originally suggested. In other words, having it complete to allow for an issuance of a building permit. They came up with another timeline. Is that something you consider?
I think it's reasonable to consider. Again, I think I think there is a little bit of flexibility, recognizing that the owner inherited this problem, didn't cause it. And I think that's grounds for some flexibility, but it is something that should be corrected as expeditiously as possible. And as a subset of a larger renovation I don't want to see it lost track of in the grand scheme of the construction for the renovation of the residence.
Yeah. Understood.
Understood. We don't have a plan yet for 38 at all, right?
There was a plan that was submitted. The applicant and the plan should be beefed up a little bit. It's a little too grassy for a wetland buffer, and a little too grassy for slopes this steep, in our opinion.
Okay, and they agreed to that. We heard that.
They're open to it. Is what I've heard tonight.
Any other questions?
Yes, Brian, were you looking for any easement protection at all anywhere in the revegetated areas, especially the part that slopes, right? Part of that slope is on this property. Was there anything that you were looking for?
No, as Tony had mentioned, the lot next door does. I have the subdivision map. I wouldn't mind sharing it because it's pretty weird, and you don't get to see a weird map like that too often here. Really doesn't have too much to do with the application, but if you'll humor me for a minute.
You're not helping, Brian.
We're
was that a no? I'm sorry.
Let's move on.
I'd like to see it.
Let's stick to this application.
I'd like to see it.
Understood. There is an easement over that pond area. Mr. Pasca mentioned there's an easement on 38 Old Montauk Highway. It is conserved. The shape of the property and the location of the natural resources, in the planning department's opinion, doesn't lend itself to a scenic easement. Scenic easements are best for resources that are of high conservation value, and when there is a proportionate impact from an application associated with it. Those are kind of the parameters that the planning department most frequently uses to recommend the location and size and parameters of a conservation easement.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are we good?
I'm good.
Thank you, Brian. Matt, do we have any callers?
You have 0 callers. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Could one of you address the work getting done prior to a building permit versus a C of O? Why you?
So,
okay.
2 things I want to note for the record. I already got sworn in earlier.
Did get sworn in.
Oh.
Only once. You can lie the second time.
So there's 2 things I want to note. We did receive, previous owners received a DEC violation for the clearing on 38 as well. And part of when I applied to the DEC for the development permit on 42, the DEC said to us, we want all the structure, we see that there was maybe in the middle of the removal of the structures, and they said we want the 38 to revegetate, to be naturalized, and we will be monitoring the progress of that. If we issue this permit on 42, we are also monitoring the progress of what's going on 38 and its revegetation. They said natural restoration. That being said, I hear Brian's concern about, the duration of time. And honestly, if we put a time limit a year, like currently we're waiting a year for a building permit. So I don't want to be stuck with a timeline that I can't satisfy because of a town, progress. So I was thinking just on the fly here, the depth of the buffer that we proposed on the 38 re-veg is about 50 feet plus or minus. And so I was thinking maybe we could draw some sort of organic line, maybe at 25 feet, and revegetate the first 25 feet adjacent to the pond prior to the building permit, and then finish the balance of the 25 feet with the development of the house and the re-veg on 42. And maybe that would be a reasonable compromise. I think you'd see some benefit for the 25 feet. It would be implemented, whenever we can, as soon as we can, and then as soon as we get approval, if we from this board, and then we could do the rest with 42. And I think it would maybe balance both requests.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Just because the question came up about the conservation easement. When we bought this property and I had to dig through these covenants for this property, it was kind of weird. There are actually at least two, and I think one of them was modified, different conservation easements that were put on this entire property. One of them was really more of a private conservation easement between the subdivision owners where no building was allowed on the property. And then later the town got involved, and there is a conservation easement that runs to the town on the entirety of the property. So if you sort of look at the two as a whole, 35 out of the 35 and a half acres are already in a very robust, no touch conservation easement. So.
Thank you.
Okay.
We are ready to close this public hearing and record. Would Joel like to say? I already did that. Thank you.
Okay. All right, then for the application.
Still there in the corner, okay.
The applicant of 42 OMH LLC at 42 Old Montauk Highway, tax map 300-021-02-23. Make a motion to close the public hearing and the public record.
Second?
Concur.
Concur. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our final public hearing tonight is Gerald Bedrin, 195 Marine Boulevard in Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-176-8-24. The description is to demolish an existing residence and swimming pool and construct a 2,236 square foot, two-story residence with decking, swimming pool, sanitary system, and driveway on a parcel of land containing barrier dunes and duneland. Relief sought is a natural resource special permit pursuant to 255-420, variances from 255-440 coastal setbacks, 255-1172D relative height, and any other necessary relief. The following dune crest variances are required. Variances of 11 feet, 28 feet, and 39 feet are required to locate the residence swimming pool and pool deck, including the pool equipment, 89 feet, 72 feet, and 61 feet from the dune crest, where a 100-foot setback is required, and 3 variances are required to allow the residence to extend 3 feet beyond the relative height pyramid limit along the northern and western lot lines, and a 2.5 foot along the eastern lot line. Zoning district is a B residence VE flood zone, 17 feet elevation. Secret class is type 2. Council, do we have a proper affidavit of service and posting?
Yeah, we have the affidavit filled out and all the mailings. The affidavit's not notarized, but it was done by Joel, who's here, so I think he can attest to it. really, if he's here, I don't really see it being.
So do you feel we can go forward?
Yeah.
Okay. Member Mary, do you have a field inspection?
Yes, indeed, I do. Thank you. Here I am standing on Marine Boulevard. I'm looking at the eastern half of the front yard of this property where the existing driveway is. You can see the notice there. Just to the east is 189 Marine, which was a redevelopment, I think, somewhere around 2020. Next slide. This is just to the other part of the front of the property that runs to the west. This property, you can see that sculpture that is on this property, and then you can see some signs there towards the right in the screen. So this property runs directly up alongside one of the public beach access easement areas that's used frequently by the public. I'll get a shot of that later. And there's another house there just west of those signs. I'll be able to see it a little more when I get on the property. Next slide. Just got a close-up of the posting, which had the correct date and time. Next slide. I just turned my back to the property. This is, I think, 196 Marine. This is a sort of a cottage style home that's undergoing a very, thorough renovation, I think, under a NRSP, admin NRSP. This board granted just a little bit of character across the road. Next slide. And then this is just took a little closer view of the part of the front of the property. It's disturbed, but it does start to slope up, pretty quickly. It's kind of screened. You'll see that area, you can almost see the fence there is where the front yard deck and pool is. It's going to be removed. Okay, next slide. All right, so I'm going to head up the driveway on the east side of the property, and you can see there's a retaining wall that kicks in really right away from the front of the property because it does, starts to slope up, and that retaining wall is supporting the pool deck and the pool that's there right now. I'm going to go further down this driveway towards the existing house. Okay, so I've gotten towards the house. I'm taking a little detour to my right or, to the west. So you can see the elevated pool deck there on the right and the fence that relates to that pool deck that's all going to get demolished. There's a lot of hardscape. The conditions on the property, obviously, is going to be re-veg and everything, but the conditions on the property are pretty compromised and, lots of ornamentals and hardscape and things like that. Next slide. It just popped up onto, you can see the, expanse of the deck, the pool. You can see towards the left part of the screen, that is the house that's on the other side of the access easement. So that's the other neighbor to the west. And I guess as the house pulls forward, I think the new structure will kind of start to align more on a plane with the houses on either side. Again, this is all going to be demolished. Next slide. So just turn my back to the pool so you can just get a view of the existing house. The property is going to kind of continue to slope up. This is the existing one-story house. I don't know where there's some double height in there, but I'm gonna just head. Again, there's a lot of hardscape there. The goal is for me, it's going to get behind to the side and behind the house. Next slide. Oh, sorry, this is just another view from the top of that, another view of the neighbor to the east, 189. Next slide. Okay, so I'm coming off the deck, the ornamental. There are some frogs, which I got very attached to while I was on the property. Next slide. So that's the front door of the existing house. To the right, you'll see, again, this is all ornamental. This is all going to be, removed and things will be revegetated. Next slide, I'm just going to pop to the right of that house. I couldn't go through it, but you can see that stockade fence is what separates this property from the public access easement to the beach. And then there's just right now, there's this sort of temporary soft structure there for storage. I couldn't go all the way through, so I'm going to go to the other side of the house to get to the back. Next slide. Okay, so now I'm on the east side of the house. I'm going to go through a little gate. Again, this property is going to rise pretty quickly. This is the current eastern facade of the existing house. Next slide. Yes, so I'm going to go up these steps that are going to take me towards the back deck and ultimately towards the dune land. Next slide. Oh, and you can, sorry, it's pretty tight. Again, this is a fairly narrow lot. So the existing house is pretty tight on to the, they have reduced setbacks because of the narrowness of the lots. Next slide. Okay, so now I'm getting towards the rear of the house. This is a very expansive rear decking off the back of the house. There's a hot tub just off to the left. You can't see it. You'll see it later. Next slide. Again, it's really interesting to see how much elevation you get on this property. Very quickly, I'm looking all the way back down. In the very distance is Marine Boulevard. It's just interesting to see, that this is a nice, big, meaty dune structure underneath this. Next slide. Okay, I'm just moved all the way back to the kind of southern part of the deck that's in the back. Remember, the pool is in the front. So this is all going to be removed, and there's some steps that start to go down to the beach. The slides I'm taking here do show some concerning environmental conditions. Is hot bamboo into this part of the upper part of the dune, and a lot of rugosa vines and stuff like that, but talk about it later. Next slide. Okay, you can see there's a lot of the bamboo. You can see the ocean a little bit in the distance there. I'm gonna get a better view of it. Next slide. Oh, something's missing. Okay, I just took something on that was the access. Were there any more, Brian? I thought I took better shots of the path to the beach. Oh, somewhere they got missing. All right, so I had some slides of where the bamboo kind of clears and there's more beach grass, and then there's once you get off those steps off the back, then there's just a sandy path that runs to the beach. So it's on the survey, but sorry about that. I don't know. Missed a couple. Yeah, I just wanted to show that that's the existing house there on the left and how close it is to the public access way. That's it.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
the money shot of the
Someone here
ocean. I didn't get.
Represent the application?
Good evening.
Do you affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. Good evening, Chairwoman Savarese and board members. Joel Halsey on behalf of Lighthouse Land Planning, representing the Bidrin family, the owners of the subject property. The subject property is 17,849 square feet in size, and it is located in a B residence zoning district and is situated on the southerly side of Marine Boulevard. The property has 75 feet of frontage on the Atlantic Ocean beach. Much of the property is located with the FEMA zone elevation 17, with a small area of the southern portion being within a FEMA zone elevation 18. The project is to demolish all of the existing improvements and construct a new FEMA-compliant two-story residence. The residence will be proposed 96 feet from the dune crest, which is a coastal retreat of 69 feet. The proposed residence is to contain 2,236 square feet of gross floor area, similar in the habitable floor area to what currently exists on the property today. The project as proposed is an overall benefit to the area. The existing house is a 1- and 2-story house in areas. The house was originally constructed as a 942 square foot 1-story residence with a full basement foundation below. However, a good portion of the lower level is more than 4 feet out of grade. It would constitute a story under today's code. No portion of the residence conforms to FEMA regulations. A building permit was issued in 1970 to convert 528 square feet of the lower level to a recreation area. So in 1970, 1970, the house increased to 1,470 square feet of habitable space. Then in 1990, a ZBA permit was issued to do 2 small additions of 123 square feet and 380 square feet for a total of 503 square feet. The additions were constructed and CO was issued in 1991. The house at this time would now be 1,973 square feet with decking and a 512 square foot swimming pool. The house as proposed will be 263 square feet larger than what currently exists, or 2,236 square feet. The pool will be reduced from 512 square feet to 450 square feet, and the decking is proposed to be 723 square feet on the ground level, 249 square feet on the first floor, and I'm going to try this again. It'll be 723 square feet on the second floor. The building coverage will be reduced by 324 square feet. I'm having a hard time with 320s tonight. 324 square feet from 1,510 square feet to 1,186 square feet. And the existing total lot coverage will be reduced by 3,098 square feet from 6,286 square feet to 3,188 square feet. Best part of this application is the retreat from the bluff crest. Currently, the structures are right up to the bluff crest, 0 feet away. The closest structure proposed will be the pool decking, proposed to be 63 feet away. And as I said before, the house will be 96 feet from the bluff crest, which only requires a 4-foot variance. The residents and all the structures have been designed to maximize the setbacks to the dune and maximize the encroachments to this coastal erosion hazard area line. The house is currently set back from Marine Boulevard as far as practical. In fact, the house will require a pyramid variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals, does require a pyramid variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals. A portion of the glass railings extends within the pyramid setbacks on both the south side and the east and west side. At the time the house was designed, the application was submitted and glass railings were exempt, I believe, from pyramid, and that's no longer the case, so that's why we are asking for the variance today. In addition to the land retreat of the residents, the project offers the listed benefits. Will be the abandonment of a non-conforming septic system that is undersized for the existing residents and not in conformance with Suffolk County design standards. The system the house will be designed to meet all the FEMA flood elevation. I do need to note that the house will be located in a FEMA flood zone where when the project was designed, the elevation was 19 feet. Under today's FEMA standards, it would now be 20.5 feet. The house is proposed to be 20 feet above sea level, so we are close to the new FEMA flood elevation. However, the application was submitted prior to the FEMA elevation changing. So all those applications, whether it be a zoning board, planning board, I don't believe A or B would matter here, for other applications, or a building permit was submitted prior to the change, we would be grandfathered into that FEMA regulation, which we are only 6 inches below. So we are close. I mean, you can give us a little 6 more, height, 6 more inches in height of the house, so we'd meet the current FEMA compliance, but we'd need larger pyramid variances for the glass railings. The project proposes a new building in conformance New York State Building Code and FEMA regulations. And as stated in my memo recently submitted to the board, the project does meet the variance and natural resource special permit standards, which are in the file, so I will not read them to the board tonight for the sake of time. And if the board has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Does the board have any questions?
One quick one.
I have one.
Thank you. So I read your memo and you just went through the numbers again of sort of the house size over time. But if I may, just for the record, because this board, generally, we look at GFA to GFA, actual, the way it's stated. So this is not my at all saying, oh, the new house is, too big and expensive, but the GFA of the existing house, when I look at the 2 building permits, not counting whatever habitable space there might be in the basement, is 1,402 square feet right now. So I just wanted to say that on the record. I understand the case you're making, which is, okay, there's a basement and there was a conversion to some recreation space. But I think generally when we look at our applications, we look GFA to GFA and we even talk about the below grade. So.
But that area, if you work to the east side of the house, is more than 4 feet out of grade, creating a story, which by town definition would be gross floor area.
Not on the property management card though, but anyway.
So
Again,
Joel,
I'm not just at all here disputing the size of the house
Okay.
that you are planning to build. I just
Okay.
wanted to say, this is generally, we look GFA.
Okay.
GFA.
Joel, the planning
Yes.
department is recommending increasing the scenic easement to a distance of 50 feet landward to the primary dune.
I
Are
have a
you?
survey being prepared to show that scenic easement.
Okay, now here's another question I have about the survey, and this came up earlier. It's very vague on the survey I'm looking at, but the existing conservation easement, does that extend to the dune crest? Because the survey I'm looking at, it's kind of confusing to me. Looks like, see what I mean, right there?
Existing's
So
at
is
the bottom
it,
of Dune, is it?
but is it,
Line goes-
does it extend to here though, which is
All
the,
the way back.
yeah, does it come all the way back? Because it doesn't look, okay.
Goes here forward.
Okay, so it does extend all the way up to, okay, so I'm not clearly seeing that on this. I'm not looking at it right. It's hard to see it.
Madam Chair, what survey date are you looking at?
I am looking at,
9/24?
I'm not even, no.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what I
Can I
have,
look at that?
9/24/25.
yes,
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, same one.
This is the easement,
right, and it does
And this
extend to
look-
here.
I thought this is what they want to make.
That's what I want to make
additional. Yeah,
sure.
That's the question. I
That's the
had.
question. Yeah, that's my only question.
You know, the way in which it's marked, there's almost two different fonts. One's much darker than the other.
Yeah,
So it was really hard to see. That's why
it was a very busy survey. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And also on that survey that's being prepared, this doesn't show the actual re-veg on the plan. We are going to be proposing a re-veg, pretty much re-vegetating the whole area up to about, I think, 10 feet off the proposed deck at the back. On the
So,
survey. So that'll show on the survey with the scenic easement as well.
okay.
10 feet from where the new scenic easement would be?
No, 10 feet. The scenic-
Can you just show me
Go
where
right
you're talking
here.
about? Okay,
So it would be 10 feet about, right about, up to that.
okay.
We've got
Sorry,
that there.
point again, Joel, that's where the scenic
50
easement
feet
starts?
is right about, kind of, this kind of,
Yeah, that's,
so 50 feet's probably gonna be right about here.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna go right about here. We're gonna re-veg up to right, beyond the scenic easement.
Okay, very good.
and, I mean, we'll ask Brian about it, but Joel, I mean, how are you going to tackle?
We're gonna have to tackle the bamboo. Is that
Yeah.
where you're going?
Well, that's not going to get tackled tonight, though.
Yeah,
It's
no.
not a part of this application.
What?
Well, it can't because this is a type 2 action and removal of bamboo, right? Is a whole other, isn't it?
Not if you're
Oh,
not
like
digging
a-
it out of a wetland, but,
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not,
so it would still be a type 2, but I'll speak
All
to
right,
the bamboo.
let's hear from the planning department if Joel is finished. Because I know there's certain restrictions with the bamboo.
Good evening again, board members. Brian Frank in the planning department, from the planning department. I do want to apologize to member Meering. I did miss one of her emails with 6 lovely photos of the path and the ocean.
those are the big shots, you know?
Those were the best
ocean,
shots, and
Sparkling sunshine.
I blew it. I screwed it up. I apologize. My
It's
bad. I'm going to switch. The survey is a little busy. I do want to just, the value to leaving it up here is there was a prior zoning board application that did establish the scenic easement at the time in the area of the Dune Crest. The Dune Crest is just a little bit landward of the deck. So the existing Dune Crest setback of the existing structures is somewhat negative. It extends seaward of the dune. The scenic easement allowed that deck in the easement to be repaired and maintained along with the staircase. A little bit interesting. So just for clarification, because I agree that the clarity on the survey, especially when you're seeing it at the regular scale, is tough. It's a little easier when you can blow it up on the screen. But this is the footprint of the existing deck. This is about the location of the dune crest where it says top of dune. And this line with the meets and bounds in front of it is the easement line. So this small area of deck is seaward of the, is within the easement. If I can, I would like to switch over to the aerial instead of the survey for at least a few minutes. This is the subject property. As Member Mirren had commented, 189 Marine Boulevard is a redevelopment that adjoins it to the east. That was a demo and a relocation landward for that construction. The existing improvements on the subject property are fair to describe as somewhat sprawling. You can see the swimming pool is what's located closest to the street. There's a gap, there's the residence, and then there's the deck on the seaward side of the house. All in all, the north to south footprint or transect of the development is about 135 feet long. As I mentioned, it is located adjacent to the dune crest. The deck is seaward of the dune crest. The house is about 27 feet landward of the dune crest. The footprint of the house is about 1,500 square feet now. And the application is proposes a complete redevelopment. The setback increase is pretty significant in the opinion of the planning department. It's not wholly conforming to the 100-foot setback for structures, but the setback is going from 27 feet for the residence to 89 feet, and from a negative setback seaward of the crest to more than 60 feet for the deck on the seaward side of the swimming pool. The coverage is being reduced from 1,500 square feet to just a little under 1,200 square feet, and then there's a more significant reduction in total coverage that's going from 6,286 square feet to 3,188 square feet. So even though this application doesn't meet the 100-foot setback, which would make it ideal, the setback increase combined with the consolidation of the footprint of the improvements makes this a pretty good project in the analysis of the planning department. The planning department does recommend adding to the scenic easement, as noted by the chairwoman, going 50 feet landward of the dune crest. That is consistent with the other redevelopments that we've seen on and the mitigation incorporated into other redevelopments on Marine Boulevard. And the planning department does not have an objection to the retention of the staircase that unfortunately we didn't get to see because of my mistake, that exists on a short section of the property over the steepest slope of the property, and the maintenance of the existing path that you can see on the aerial. Obviously, you don't need the language about maintaining the deck that's going to be removed in the new easement. There is some bamboo on the property. Bamboo is a tough plant. We've discussed it in a number of applications. You can see where it has kind of reestablished itself on 189 on the lot next door. You can see it on the aerial here. I don't really recommend tying the bamboo removal to mitigation for this project. Tackling bamboo is a project unto itself. It would involve excavating the primary dune. It would, I would not object to it. If they came back later and said, hey, you know what, we want to dig out the bamboo, shake out the sand, put the sand back, plant beach grass, and then try to hold the line, I'd be fine with that. But tying this to the redevelopment when there's not a plan for that, I think is, bamboo punches back. So if you're going to punch it, you better stay on it. And that's kind of the bottom line here. So as much as I laud the analysis of it, tying it's kind of a separate project, and tying it to the redevelopment is a lot. And again, if they want to come back and tackle it, it's better for their view. It's better for for the dune probably,
Just
although
not part of this application, right?
it does seem to do a decent job holding the dune together. I hate to give it its props for that, but that does seem to be the case. Again, they want to come back and say, hey, we like the idea, we're tired of mowing this and we'd rather have it naturalized, more power to them. But that is a commitment. And as was, remember the house in 189, the original Sonia Henney house, was kind of in that area where you could see the sparse area of beach grass now. So a lot of that was removed, naturalized. They did a great job naturalizing, and I have photographs of that. And the bamboo comes back. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And the footprint is going north to south, is going from 135 down to about 61 feet. So that's basically cutting the north-south span in half. And that's the basis for the planning department's recommendations on this lot. It is a narrow lot. It does benefit from 4/10 reduction, and that does contribute to the need for a pyramid variance in the planning department's opinion. The board members have any questions I can answer, I'd be happy to try.
75 width of this parcel, is that atypical of these oceanfront lots over here? We have other ones that are 75 feet. I don't remember them being that narrow.
There are a couple of others. On Marine Boulevard, there's not a standard size. There is a lot of variability in the width of the properties on Marine. I think the ones that are 75 feet wide are less common off the top of my head. So I think you're correct, but it is pretty variable.
Brian, can you, there is still a 39-foot variance for the pool deck. And obviously, I'm not underestimating the amazing retreat to the front, but there have been a number of redevelopments along Marine. I don't want to put you on the spot, but how is that 39 feet kind of stacking up to like what the board's approved for pools and pool decks?
Well, no, that's a fair question. I think the redevelopments off the top of my head to compare this to are on wider lots. I think there was a little bit more of a more conforming location to work with, and I think that's 70. I don't know that any of those redevelopments have been on a lot as narrow as 75 feet.
Okay. And then can I ask one silly math question? I must be missing something. I always thought when you calculate lot area is adjusted to go up to the bluff crest for the lot area for all the calculations, but this one's going to the tie line. Am I saying that incorrectly?
There's usually 2 area calculations on the survey. This is a busy survey. Usually you get the total lot area, which is the lot area to the tie line, and there should be a lot area per code, and that's what the coverage is, and everything should be based on the lot area.
Because I didn't see that on there. Yeah. Is it on there? It's a tiny, teeny survey.
It is on there.
Okay, I missed it. Thank you.
You know, and
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
there's a lot of information on the survey, and there's not the heavy weighted lines or the different colors, you know, or the call out boxes that some of the other surveyors do to make some of the pertinent information pop.
So all the calculations have been done on that number, right? Okay, thank you.
Vice Chair?
The pyramid request is strictly over the glass rail.
From what I recall, I have the elevation plans here if you want to take a look at them.
I looked at them and I'm saying that I don't see anything else, but there's not another part of the structure other than the glass rail.
Not to my recollection, but I wouldn't want to spoil it right now.
Okay.
Thank you, Brian. Matt, do we have any callers?
You indeed do. So let me let them in. And last 4 digits, 8307. You are live.
Good evening, board. It's Rona Klopman, 184 Marine Boulevard. I'm a neighbor across the street and like one lot away. And I have some questions about the area itself because I live here full time, and I know. And I've lived here for 39 years. The house to the west used to be called the Phillips House. I don't know who owns it now. I think Hirsch. They had a house on the dune which they had to move back to the to Marine Boulevard because of the fact that it kept flooding. So my concern is, and we've had a couple of storms that have changed the coastal area tremendously. There's a drop now that's incredible on the beach. And if they are allowed to build this bigger house on the dune, I mean, I'm not quite sure why they aren't requested to build closer to Marine Boulevard rather than on the dune itself. That's question number one. Number two, we have problems with areas that are small, and evidently this lot is very narrow, with staging of people who are rebuilding houses. And it gets to be a real problem on the street if they have no place to keep their construction trucks. So my question is, I don't think you brought that up, but staging could be a problem for the house. Because they have no place to put any trucks except on Marine Boulevard, which makes it an obstruction. Anyway, those are two questions I have concerning this house. If you can answer them, I would appreciate it. I respect Brian. I have the greatest confidence in Brian evaluating it for the planning department, but those are my concerns that I don't think I heard tonight.
Mr. Halsey, would you like to address that?
Good evening, Joel Halsey again. Regarding the first concern, we are not rebuilding in the dune crest, we're actually moving back. So I don't know if I misheard what the concern was, but the retreat from the dune is 67 feet and the house is going to be 96 feet from the dune, where everything's right on the dune now. With regards to parking, I guess one of the things we could do prior to the issuance of a building permit, once we find out who the contractor will be, we could submit a parking protocol for this project in order to the board's satisfaction as to see how it would work. I know that there is public parking down the street. If it was the off season, we'd probably be able to use the town lot. But that's probably, that's an assumption. I don't know if that's actually true. But
town lot's pretty far away. Yeah.
So
town
again,
lot's pretty far. Yeah.
So I don't know if I addressed your concerns with the first comment, but with regards to parking, I guess we would have to submit some sort of parking protocol prior to the issuance of a building permit. But that's something with the amount of time it's taking for building permits, there's no way we can choose a contractor for 9 months now. So it'll be a while before we can choose a contractor.
Right.
So.
Is there anything we can do to join our power to condition that we see that plan?
The condition prior to the issuance of a building.
I think prior to the issuance.
Prior to the issuance of a building permit, park protocol would have to be reviewed and approved by the town board or by the zoning board of appeals. And that's something that the building department would requires the memo from the zoning board of appeals.
That should then also include that storage of materials, potential fill goes on previously disturbed parts of, where the structure was removed.
Project limiting fence and all that installed as well too, yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Matt, are there any other callers?
You have 0 additional callers. Thank you.
I think we're ready to close this public hearing.
So, okay. In the matter of Gerald Bedrin, 195 Marine Boulevard, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-176-8-24, I make a motion to close the public hearing and close the record.
Concur.
Oh, yeah, it's contagious, Joel.
Concur.
Have a good night.
Now we're going to move on to the work session. We have a post-hearing decision where member Kiley is the only member of the board that will be giving us his decision on this application. The application is for Brian Crawford, 40 Agnew Avenue in Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-31-2-33. Description is to legalize an existing shed, deck, and shower and replace an existing deck on a parcel within the jurisdiction of a freshwater wetland. Relief sought is a natural resource special permit pursuant to 255-420 and variances from 255-430, minimum wetland setbacks, and any other relief necessary. The following variances are required. A variance of 79.2 feet to allow the deck to remain 20.8 feet from a wetland where 100 is required. A variance of 51.3 feet to allow the shower to remain 48.7 feet from a wetland where 100 feet is required. And a variance of 72 feet to allow the shed to remain 28 feet from a wetland where 100 feet is required. Member Kiley?
I had the opportunity to visit the site and have seen the shed and the type of wetlands, and I don't feel that the shed is impeding drainage for the growth of the wetlands. So I have no problem approving this application.
So you're in favor of the deck and shower as well? Okay, thank you. Council, do you have? Okay. All right, let me get my notes on Caputi. Give me 1 sec. Okay. Next decision will be Diane Caputi, 126 Grant Drive in Montauk. Description is to allow pool equipment to remain 13.2 feet from the rear yard property line where 20 feet is required. Relief sought is a variance from 255-1110, Table of Dimensional Regulations, and any other relief necessary. The following variances are required. Variance of 6.8 feet to allow the pool equipment to remain 13.2 feet from the side yard lot line where 20 feet is required. Is this yours? Oh, no. Okay, Member Berger.
And the hearing date on this was March 24th, 2026. The TAM was 2027-26 by Jake Kushner. The survey that we had for the hearing was 7/1/25. The applicant represented herself. There was no public comment on it. The request is for a 6.8-foot variance for the pool equipment to remain 13.2 from the side yard lot line. There was a lot of history on this account. The applicant, she did represent herself ultimately, but she had put in a pool that was started without a permit. There was a stop work order. There was a contractor that had issues going on with his licensing and other factors. And ultimately, there had been a permit after the stop work with an approved location for the pool equipment. The applicant said she didn't see that, and the issues with the contractor, and all in all, that she was the one that made the decision to put it farther away, which now required the variance. For the building permit, there was a conforming location that had been on it. Generally, I'm going to deny this variance. I think it can cause an undesirable change in the character. Potentially, this is a very mixed area of things going on, and the neighborhood changing. And there are at least 3 houses that are within range of the pool equipment where it got posted. I think it could potentially be heard and have a detriment in the neighborhood going forward. Could it be achieved by some other method? Yes, we know it can. There was an approved location, and there's still an approved location that would be available to have that put in without any detriment to any trees that were in the vicinity north of the pool equipment where it is today. It could be moved farther east. Is it substantial? It's not the most outrageous, but it is still pretty large, and we do have double setback requirements for pools for a reason. Does it adversely affect the physical conditions of the neighborhood? I think it could potentially, yes. And is it self-created? Yes. So I'm denying this variance.
Vice Chair?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with my fellow board member on this. I think that on the surface, it seems like a small ask. After all, it's just a little piece of equipment. They do have a fence around it, and there is some screening, not that significant, but that between there and the neighbor. But on the other hand, there was a building permit issued. The building permit showed a location. At the hearing, the applicant said there really was no place to move it to because there was a slope up against the house. That's very true, but that's not the proposed location that was put forth in the building permit. The proposed location was one that would have taken it further from the neighbor, and it would have been acceptable, of course, to the board, but also it would have been following the building permit that was issued. I have full sympathy for the fact that there was some discrepancies with the way in which the subcontractor was working. And I think that's unfortunate that you'll be asked to move the equipment. But I also think we have a responsibility to follow at least some portion of what we see as the natural chain of events on these things. A building permit, a location that's ignored and does go in within closer to another property. With all sympathy for them and the fact this woman who seemed, distressed by the thought she'd have to move it, there is a location, it can be moved. I'm going to deny the application.
Member Kiley?
I'm in agreement. There was a proposed location. It was not put there, and unfortunately, it just was not done. It could have been done, and it does affect the neighbors.
Member Mehring?
Yes, thank you. I agree with my fellow board members. Pool equipment, I mean, there's a reason for these double setbacks for pools and pool equipment. They make noise. You can't just screen that away. I do think that neighbors have a right to be separated as much as the code requires from these types of disturbances. As was said, and I agree, there was finally a correct building permit with a place. The applicant who did represent herself really made no compelling reason, or there's no unique circumstance here of why the actual setbacks should not be met. So I am also, for the reasons that were laid out relative to the standards, denying this application.
I agree with my fellow board members as well. I will not repeat everything that's already been said. I will be denying this application as well. Okay, next. Next is other decisions, building permits, certificate of occupancy, extensions of time. Joyce. 93 South Euclid Avenue, East Hampton, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-49-1-13.3, extension of a 2022 determination. Brian?
Yes, Madam Chair. The variance was granted to allow 7 parking spaces in the right-of-way instead of on-site. The construction on the property is near completion, and they need the extension to keep a valid permit and close it out to get a certificate of occupancy.
Is everyone okay?
Yeah.
No changes to anything that was proposed and approved by us.
No changes to anything that the zoning board granted. And I don't know of any change, this is something that required a site plan as well. I'm not aware of any changes with the site plan, but these are the parking spaces that the zoning board allowed to be off-site and in the road right of way. And nothing has changed with that portion of the board's, with that approval.
Okay, so in the matter of Joyce, 93 South Euclid Avenue in East Hampton, I make a motion that we approve the extension of time.
Second.
Concur.
Concur. Of course, it's not in East Hampton, but that's okay.
Well, oh, it's in Montauk.
It's in Montauk, right, that's correct.
Thanks. We'll mark that on the agenda. Make sure, Charlie, that's on the resolution, correct? Okay. Next is McMahon, 21 Farrington Place in Montauk. Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-19-6-2.8, extension of a 2019 determination. Brian?
As you mentioned, Madam Chair, it was a 2019 approval. Nothing appears to have changed. The environmental conditions are the same as when the permit was issued, and the planning department doesn't have any concerns or objection with an extension of time.
So nothing has changed. Okay, is everyone all right with this?
Yes, I'm okay with it.
You want to make a motion?
I will. Then in the application of McMahon, 21 Farrington Place, Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-19-6-2.8, I make a motion to approve the extension of time.
Second.
Concur.
Next is Vonez, 15 Cross Highway, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-127-2-35, extension of a 2001 determination.
This is a vacant lot on Cross Highway. It is, the planning department checked this property closely a couple of years ago to see if the wetlands have changed at all. They have not. The environmental conditions remain the same. The planning department doesn't have any objections to the extension of time. This is an approval that originally there weren't IA systems available in 2001. So before they get a building permit, they will have to get a new health department approval for an IA sanitary system. But other than that, the planning department doesn't have any concerns or objections to the extension.
What about all that other stuff, like the house and all that? Nothing has changed in town code that would impact any of that for 20 years?
25 years.
The property, the house is still within the allowable GFA. The development was fairly constrained. The survey, I don't believe, is attached to this, the approval, but it is fairly constrained by the location of the wetlands. So it was kind of squeezed in, if I remember, in this location.
So we're good?
Planning department's happy with it.
I think I voted no last
Member
year.
Mary,
Getting old.
would you like to make a motion?
I'm sorry? So I'll make a motion, but I'm going to vote no. Okay. In the matter of Voness, 15 Cross Highway, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-127-2-35, make a motion for the extension of time.
Second.
Concur.
Next is
Wait,
Haynes.
and I'm a no.
Oh, you're a no?
Yeah, I'm a no. So I made the motion, but I'm
it's a
voting against it.
4-1.
Did you vote? Sorry?
No, oh, yeah.
Well, you gonna vote?
Yeah, I'm gonna deny it. Yeah.
So it's a 3-2. Hain and Schwartz, 44 Cliff Road, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-173-2-18.1. Extension of 2020 determination. Brian?
This was an application that granted additions and a swimming pool and a new sanitary system in 2020. No work has been done on the property yet, and the environmental conditions are the same as when the board's determination was granted.
Brian, did they, I remember, I wasn't on the board, but I remember this application. So wasn't there like a large scenic easement that was put over part of the dune land? Was that actually filed, or that would come when they do the work?
That would come when they do the work. Before they apply for a building permit, they'll have to meet the prerequisites, which is usually to have the easement in acceptable form to council, and they have to file it before they get a CO.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Member Mary?
Yes, thank you. In the matter of Hain and Schwartz, 44 Cliff Road, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-173-2-18.1, I make a motion to approve the extension of the 2020 determination.
Second.
Concur.
Next is Springmark LLC, 100 Runnymede Drive, East Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-23-4-9. Extension of a 2018 determination. Brian?
This was a redevelopment, and no work has occurred. The conditions on the property are the same as when the board issued the approval.
Okay. Board, are we okay with this?
So I guess the question that you're raising now is that if we have a period of time that goes by, how do we know that there aren't new conditions from the building department they should be adhering?
Oh, The one I was talking about was 26
No, I
years old.
understand. Yeah, but I'm saying when one like this, that's the question we ask when we do these. Are there any conditions that would have changed that would give us pause to approve this?
I don't believe so, no.
And he's saying no.
Okay.
No, the environmental conditions on the property are the same. I'm going to assume that Tyler checked the GFA and that it's under.
So is everyone okay with
Yeah,
this?
I approve it.
Okay. So in the matter of Springmark LLC, 100 Runnymede Drive, East Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-23-4-9, I make a motion, we approve the extension of time.
Second?
Concur.
Concur.
Next, we move on to the minutes approval. Draft minutes of Tuesday, April 7th, Member Berger.
Make a motion to approve the draft minutes from Tuesday, April 7, 2026, for the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second?
Concur.
Concur. Next are resolutions. Gardner, I'm going to let you take over here because I have to recuse myself.
Okay. Resolutions for Gardeners Marine at 35 3 Mile Harbor Road, East Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-93-1-8. This was a modification, is that right? This was a modification. We came to us with slightly wider walkways. There was an additional change of the surface that was still permeable for part of the parking. The building department, the planning department had no problem with it, and we approved it. So I'm going to make a motion in the case of Gardeners Marina, 35 3 Mile Harbor Road, East Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-93-1-8, to accept the determination as written.
Second.
Concur.
Concur.
Next resolution is Evans, 76 Leeton Road, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-131-5-7. Member Mering.
Yes, we'll recall that this was an application, I think we were removing some decking and doing a small 200+ square foot of GFA expansion on a small property in what we refer to as the White Sands neighborhood out on the stretch. There was also a discussion that was agreed to of there had been some overclearing and removal of native vegetation that was going to be revegetated, as well as an agreement to revegetate anything that's disturbed during construction, and this was a unanimous approval, if I recall. Okay. So in the matter of Evans, 76 Leeton Road, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-131-5-7, I make a motion to approve the resolution as written.
Second.
Concur.
Concur.
Vice Chair, do we have an adjournment?
We do. I'd like to make a motion to close the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals public hearing and work session for April 21st, 2026 at 8:46 p.m.
Second.
Concur.
Concur.
Good night, everyone. Thank you, Matt. Thank you,
Have a good night,
Brian.
board.